Deep beneath central Anatolia, a city drops through the rock in layers that seem to vanish into the earth. In Derinkuyu, the question is not just who built it, but why anyone needed a hidden world this large. The entrance looks almost modest from above, yet below it opens into a maze of tunnels, chambers, and shafts. That contrast is part of the fascination, a quiet landscape hiding something immense. Derinkuyu sits in Cappadocia, a region shaped by volcanic tuff that can be cut like hardened clay. The stone itself made secrecy possible, but it also raises a harder question. What kind of pressure created this need for concealment? For decades, researchers have described a subterranean network built for survival, storage, and refuge. Yet the scale feels almost excessive, as if the builders expected a threat that could last for generations. The first modern rediscovery came when a hidden room was opened behind a house and the space beyond kept going. What began as a local curiosity turned into a descent into one of the most astonishing underground complexes ever found. As explorers went deeper, the city revealed ventilation shafts, wells, stables, kitchens, and communal rooms. It was not a single shelter, but a functioning underground habitat designed to keep people alive for long periods. One of the most striking features is the stone door system, heavy circular slabs that could be rolled into place from inside. They suggest planning, engineering, and a very clear expectation of danger. Those doors are not decorative. They are practical, defensive, and strangely elegant, turning ordinary rock into a barrier that could seal off entire sections of the city in moments. The deeper levels become harder to imagine in a modern city because they were built for movement, breath, and endurance. Narrow passages connect broad rooms, and the whole place feels tuned to life under pressure. Supporters of extraordinary interpretations often point to that level of coordination and ask whether the builders inherited knowledge older than the histories we keep. Could such a place preserve memory from a vanished civilization? Cappadocia itself is full of carved churches, storage spaces, and settlements, showing that generations understood how to live within the rock. Derinkuyu is the most dramatic expression of that long relationship with the land. The accepted timeline places much of the underground expansion in the medieval era, when raids and instability made concealment valuable. That explanation fits the region's history, but it does not fully quiet the wonder of the design. What keeps the story alive is the sheer ambition of the engineering. Excavating so much stone, maintaining airflow, water access, and secure movement would have required discipline on a remarkable scale. There are also the practical questions that linger in every chamber. How many people could truly live here? How long could they stay? And how was such coordination organized without modern tools? The city invites those questions at every turn. Some researchers note that the site's scale feels almost more like a planned refuge system than a simple hiding place. That distinction matters because a refuge system implies forethought across many seasons, not a single emergency. The most compelling details are often the quietest ones: the air shafts, the wells, the controlled openings, the careful spacing of rooms. Together they make the city feel less like a ruin and more like a solved problem of survival. And yet, when people speak about ancient survival theories, Derinkuyu becomes more than a shelter. It becomes a clue that some communities may have been responding to threats we only partially understand now. Believers in lost knowledge ideas see a pattern here. Sophisticated underground architecture, regional traditions of hidden spaces, and a human willingness to disappear beneath the surface when the surface no longer feels safe. The pattern is suggestive even when it remains incomplete. Skeptics point out that necessity can produce remarkable engineering without invoking anything beyond human adaptation. In a volatile frontier region, people may simply have built the best shelter they could imagine. That reading is persuasive, and it may be correct. Still, it leaves open why the city grew so vast, why it was refined so carefully, and why the design feels almost obsessive in its completeness. The mystery deepens when you imagine daily life below ground. Cooking smoke managed through shafts, animals housed in confined spaces, families moving through narrow passages in near silence. It is a world built to endure, not to flourish openly. That tension between endurance and concealment is what gives Derinkuyu its emotional power. It feels like a place made by people who believed the sky above could become dangerous at any time. For ancient astronaut enthusiasts, that phrase opens a wider possibility. If ancient communities remembered repeated aerial threats or visitors beyond their understanding, underground refuge would make haunting sense. Nothing in the site proves that interpretation, but the human impulse behind it is easy to understand. When a culture builds to hide from the world, people naturally ask what it was hiding from. Other explanations remain firmly on the table. Regional warfare, raids, religious persecution, and unstable politics can all explain why communities would invest in deep, defensible spaces. Even so, the city's design feels larger than a temporary hiding place. The deeper you go, the more it resembles a parallel settlement, one that could support organized life beneath the surface for extended periods. That is why Derinkuyu remains so compelling in survival theories. It suggests that ancient people were not only reacting to danger, but planning for continuity, preserving community when the outside world could not be trusted. The unanswered questions are not small ones. How much of the site is still unexplored? What earlier phases may lie beneath later expansions? And whether the builders inherited techniques from an even older tradition all remain open. There is also the matter of memory. Cities like this can disappear from written history while surviving in stone, carrying forward practical knowledge that later generations only partly understand. That is where the mystery becomes larger than one site. Derinkuyu stands beside other underground and megalithic wonders around the world, inviting the same question in different forms. How much did ancient people really know? The conventional answer is that they knew exactly what they needed to know to survive. The more speculative answer is that they may have inherited fragments of a much older, wider understanding of the world. Neither reading closes the case completely. One explains the city's function, while the other explains why the structure still feels so emotionally charged, as if it points beyond its own era.